Applying for residency, what in your residency application do you think helped the most in gaining acceptance into your residency program? Dr. Haroon, can you start with this?
Yeah, sure. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, great. So I think one of the most important parts of the application um, are your letters of recommendation. So this is where faculty members are basically vouching for your clinical skills and your personal qualities as well. I think it's important to make connections with your faculty early on, especially in the fields that you're interested in. These could be clinical attendings, your research mentors, and choose someone who you know will write you a great letter. So that's really important. Um, Also, it's really important to ask them early on. You know, I would give them a couple of months notice at least. Don't ask them at the last minute because they do have to write multiple letters. And if you ask too late, they might not have enough time for yours. So that's really important. Other aspects of the application that I thought were important, you know, personal statement, and then definitely the interview as well.
All right, great. Dr. Huck, would you like to comment as well?
Yeah, so for me, I'm doing internal medicine, like within NYU's program, I'm doing like clinical investigator track, which is focused on research. And so I had like a lot of clinical research during my interview. And I think one thing, of course, like if you're still a pre-med, it's probably too early to be thinking about all this, but different kinds of programs, like different kinds of profiles, as like we were talking about before. So some programs are really community based, like they care a lot about your drive for medicine and like being involved in the community and doing volunteer work and going to health fairs, things like that. This was more of a like a research kind of program, so they like to see publications. That was probably, I think that really helped me a lot in my application. And also, I think personal statement is really important. Like a lot of my classmates, I noticed like a lot of them just wing the personal statement, and they don't really start it in it like until they finish their step two and like close to the time the application comes around. So I think starting that as soon as you can is really important because that's like something that you have full control over when you apply. So my personal statement and then my research helped me a lot.
All right, great. Dr. Salejo, would you like to share your experience?
Yeah, I would also reiterate about the personal statement being the most important part of the residency application. You know, it's something that you start out doing a personal statement in medical school, and then again for residency applications. It's your opportunity to let um, the residency program directors see your personality before the interview. And you know, when they're going through thousands of applications, one thing obviously we touched on earlier about using scores uh, for screening and giving interview slots, but they also read and put a lot of weight to the personal statement. So make sure that it's a well thought out personal statement. You have started it early on in the process, thought about why you are selecting that residency. Uh, Looking back at your med school personal statement is also a good idea to see if your motivation and drive to be in medicine is still the same or has something changed. Your life experiences have uh, played into your decision for that residency. So I think it's a good idea to have a very well thought out, well written personal statement. Let a bunch of people proofread it for you so there are no grammar mistakes. And you know, I think for my personal application, before you even get to the interview, the personal statement played a big role in it.
Yumna, can I comment?
Yes,
A
absolutely.
few things. Number one, going back to, I'm sorry, I think it was Dr. Harun who said about make sure that the person you're asking the letter from actually loves you, okay? Because otherwise, they will write a very lukewarm letter that will come through immediately. You can tell immediately when the person, the author, writes something that is lukewarm, you're dead on arrival. So I've had to ask people not to let me write a letter for them because we just didn't develop that relationship during that time. And it's very hard to dissuade a medical student, believe it or not, from asking you for a letter of recommendation. Number one. And then what Dr. Slater said about personal statement, when I read these both from medical students and surgery applicants, be very, very, very careful with your personal statement. don't get lost in your personal statement. It is your chance to guide the conversation during the interview process. They're not going to ask you, oh, why did you get an A plus in XYZ subject, right? But your personal statement, oh, you're a dancer. Okay, now let's talk about that. Or, oh, so tell me more about the time you got into a car wreck and that's what inspired you to go into medical school, right? So be careful of what you put in the personal statement. Be very thoughtful about where it's going to lead you. I have seen personal statements that will actually hurt candidates. And there's another question that's going to come up about it. But don't write in your personal statement, when I used to go out drinking in New Orleans with my friends, please don't start your personal statement like that. That'll crush you, right? So you have to be very thoughtful. I mean, it's amazing how both IMGs and local medical students and people applying into medical school write horrible personal statements. So make sure what Dr. Suleja said, have somebody review it 10 times. But also don't spend 3 weeks on it and 5 weeks on it. Send a rough draft, tell a story, and quickly move on. Don't overthink it. When you overthink it, you're gonna make a mess of it.
All right. We actually have a follow-up question to that. Do you have any advice on the best way to go about editing your personal statement? Do you recommend having others read your statement? And if so, who would you recommend reading it?
Yeah, so I had a bunch of people, family, friends, read it. My advisors in pre-med program read it as well. I actually went back and reached out to my high school English teacher, as she claimed herself as the queen of grammar. So I was far removed from high school at that point, but I still wanted to, get her expertise in grammar and make sure that it was worded well and was to the point that I was getting across.
And let me say something, Yumna. So I will definitely second Faisal, what he said, that choosing your referee, I think that's the most important thing. So when I have some medical students and they come to me and then they work with me, but there are some medical students basically who overperform during their rotation. They spend more time with me. They read, if you're discussing a topic, they will read really very thoroughly and then kind of bring some questions or express their opinion. So I have seen, like, I can individualize that medical student, because I have like maybe 2 or 3 medical students at one time, when I'm working in the NICU. But there will be at least 1 or 2 that I will remember them for sure. And if they will ask me for a letter, definitely they will get a very good letter. And the others, yeah, maybe okay, I mean, they may get in or may not. But yeah, so that is something, and I think, if you're working with somebody, you will have that feeling that, yeah, this was one of my best rotation. I did very well during this rotation. So I think once you have that feeling, then definitely you can go ahead and ask your referee that, if they want to write a letter, and most likely, if you have done well, they will write a very good letter.
All right, great. Thank you. That was really helpful.